Hi everyone from Hanover, New Hampshire. We are now going to talk about, gotta look at what week we're on, week 20, which covers Manchester Center, which was miles 650.7 to Hanover, New Hampshire, which was 1747.7. That covers August 2nd through August 8th. And for that week, we hiked 97 miles. So not too bad considering that included 2 Neros and 1 zero. So, Cheek and I have both kind of been in a little bit of a funk lately. And I think we're just tired of hiking. And so we're still putting in some big days, 4 20-mile days this week. But we're trying to do a couple Neros, and we did a zero at the Yellow Deli in Rutland, and that was fun. So let's talk about the money we spent. So accommodations, $40 is what we spent, and that was for the Yellow Deli, which is a hostel in Rutland, downtown Rutland, run by the 12 tribes, I believe is what they're called, which is a kind of a pseudo-Christian cult, basically. They have some interesting philosophies, but all of that really doesn't matter. We've stayed with, I'm sure, plenty of people who we don't necessarily agree philosophically with. So I would suggest staying there for the experience, because it's such a welcoming group, and a neat stay, and they're pretty efficient at running their hostel. When we were there, we had a record-breaking day. 63 people stayed there, and it's weird because it never felt like there was 60 people around us. It just was really comfortable, and it's donation based only. So we donated, plus we help support them by doing little small tasks. You can fold laundry, or you can help with the breakfast. I removed some trash from the side of the washing machine. That was quite a bit of stuff there that I guess falls off the washing machine, and you needed someone with long arms to get it. So I helped out with that. So $40 for 2 days, still a deal. And like I said, I highly recommend it. It's right in the middle of downtown Rutland. We walked to the Walmart, we walked to the movie theater, we walked to the yogurt place, we walked to the bar. Happened in a little town. We saw some live music, which was great. A band that we liked long ago called Sister Hazel was playing, which was pretty cool. So highly recommend getting into the town. Now, getting there is a little challenging. You have to get a hitch. It didn't take us very long to get a hitch. Unfortunately, the guy who we got a hitch from dropped us off because he was going to yoga and he was late. Only about halfway there, so we had to get a second hitch to get back into town. Still, that didn't take very long either, only about 3 or 4 minutes, which seems like an eternity when you have your thumb stuck out and you're a little uncomfortable doing it. But really, of all the hikers we were talking to, everybody got a hitch in, and it didn't take them too long. Coming back out, it's really easy. You hop on a bus, spend $2 a piece, and you get back to the trailhead. Okay, so resupply. We spent $49 on resupply. That was pretty easy. Some more of our friends sent stuff to us. So Keith and Karen, thank you so much. I helped Chica drink the wine, by the way, and I enjoyed my Maker's Mark. So plus all the foodstuffs. It was wonderful. Our weakness, in-town food, $362. That included going out to eat almost 2 or 3 times each day that we were in town. So we were in Rutland 2.5 days, and we've been here in Hanover for a day. So we ate a lot of food. And, we don't, like we've mentioned before in the past, we don't trend towards the buffet line. We prefer a sit-down meal with me having 2 or 3 beers, Chica having probably 2 glasses of wine or a margarita or something like that. So, gear. We spent $45 on gear. Chica's shorts were starting to fall off, and while that is typically a good thing for me, for her hiking, she was kind of annoyed with it. And so she bought a new pair of shorts, and you can't really buy shorts without buying a shirt to go with it, right? So luckily Dick's Sporting Goods was having a sale, and so she was able to spend a little less than what the retail price was. We spent $14 on a movie, and like I said, we've spent $4 on shuttle service. So the movie we saw was The Dark Tower. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, have been forever, and I attempted to read the Dark Tower series, and I could not ever get into it. It's more sci-fi than some of his horror and other stories. Most people think that Stephen King's all horror, but really he spans quite a few genres. In fact, he's responsible for what became the Shawshank Redemption movie, for what became the Stand By Me movie. Those were 2 short stories that he did that have nothing to do with horror. The Dark Tower is similar. It's more sci-fi, and it's a little different. I thought the movie was excellent. Matthew McConaughey as a bad guy was a great choice. I would never have thought that in the beginning, but after seeing the movie, I thought he did a great job. So, whether you're a sci-fi fan or not, go see the movie. It was good. Even Chica liked it. It was seat of your pants type stuff. Okay, so we spent $510 this week, this 20th week on the trail, and we did 97 miles. That breaks down to $5.26 per mile, or broken down per person per mile, $2.63. For the trip total, $9,482 spent, over 1,747.7 miles. Gives us a price per person per mile of $2.71. I know we're over budget. We're still over budget, and we're going to be over budget when we end in about 4 weeks. It's okay. I think we'll, it's all good. So, what were the milestones? We walked down Vermont. Vermont is done. I got to tell you, Vermont has been my favorite state so far. It's not the other state's fault that they had bad weather, but Vermont had perfect weather. It was, 60 to 70 degrees every day. I liked that we started getting some challenging hills in again. I don't know if Chico would agree with me. The rocks have totally pretty much gone away to dirt forest floors. And you had a lot of swimming holes. We had multiple ponds, which in Texas we would call lakes, and a couple rivers to jump in and cool off, even though we weren't that cool or hot. So Vermont, and great towns, Manchester Center and Hanover, both fantastic places to hang out. Okay, let's talk about questions. So someone asked, and this, I missed this last week, and I can't find the question now, but it hit me as soon as I finished last week's that I forgot to answer it. So I wrote it down, And so the question was phrased something like this: if we had to save money and do the trail cheaper, how would we do it? What could we do to hike the trail cheaper? This is a great question because, like I said in the beginning, we chose how we wanted to do the trail, and we saved the type of money to allow for that type of hike. If we were to be on a tighter budget, the very first thing I would do is we would cut out alcohol. Because we tend to buy alcohol at restaurants instead of a 6-pack at the local store, which still is, $8 or $10 these days. We're $30 off the bat. That's 3 beers for me, two wines for Chica, $30, tax, tip, all that stuff. So you do that twice a week, 3 times a week. You're $100 a week just drinking. Now there are some calorie benefits to that, of course. But anyway, so I'd cut out that. Second thing I would do is if I did go out to eat, I would eat fast food or I'd eat buffet. So instead of with alcohol spending $60 or $70 per meal, we would spend 20 or 30. You cut your meal cost in half right there. Okay, so that's food. And in-town dining. Let's talk about accommodations. So we tend towards hotels and motels. Even with 2 of us, it's kind of a break-even deal, but usually it's $20 or $30 more to stay in the hotel. But it's worth it for us, for Chica and I, for our privacy. And then when we stay in hostels, we tend to stay at the ones that are priced $30 and higher. We actually had a hostel owner tell us that the only reason he priced at $30 and up is because he doesn't want to deal with some of the type of people that a lower price brings in. More of the party crowd, more of the kind of riffraff that you can get. Obviously, it's a mixed crowd, and not everybody's like that who's on a budget. But you do tend to get people who are spending their money elsewhere instead of on the accommodations. So you could always stay at a cheaper hostel. The lowest of the low is the donation hostel, which unfortunately, some hikers think when it says donation only that equals free. You should be paying something, and $5 or $10, a night is not uncommon to be there. So that versus $30 a night is a huge cost savings. The very best thing for the budget hiker is finding a situation where you can camp just right outside town, but still have access to the town's amenities, such as a laundromat, and in places where you can pay $2 or $3 and get a shower. That way, you get your town food, you get clean, and you don't have any accommodation costs. So that's the best of all the worlds. How else could you save money? Those are the big places that we're spending money. Resupply, you can eat ramen, top ramen, and nor rice and pasta sides all day long. And you can use hiker boxes to resupply. Man, there are some great stuff in hiker boxes a lot of times, but a lot of times it's the same thing over and over and over. So you have to have kind of a palate willing to accept the same food every day. Great question. Hopefully that answers. Those are the main costs, I think, where you can save. Okay, so Brian asks, what do we do what do we eat for dinners? He's noticed that we do mountain houses. and some other hot meals. But he may not have watched the recent video where we sent our stove home. So everything's cold now. So not even Mountain House. So what do we eat? We're figuring that out. Right now it's bagels with peanut butter, some cheese, and maybe a candy bar for dinner or other snack items. For breakfast, we're having Pop-Tarts and a protein bar. For lunch, we're having Triscuit cheese, peanut butter again, more candy. Not the most balanced diet out there, but we're trying to eat more calories and get a lot of protein in. Oh, there's jerky. Jerky is had at most every meal, at least lunch and dinner. Brian also asks, how are we handling health insurance? Okay. I'm not gonna field this question because our situation is a little different than most. We are transitioning from Costa Rica, where we had no health insurance and paid out of pocket, back into the U.S. So I don't have a great answer. I know there's several articles. There's one on the Trek. You might want to search health insurance on thetrek.com, and they have some solutions for most people who have normal circumstances. Okay, 15 more asked, why are we going stoveless? A couple reasons. One, the heat in New York and Connecticut was so oppressive. We had no appetite for hot food. Two, we're getting to the point to where our days are long. I mean, we're hiking from basically 7 in the morning to 6 or 6:30 at night, maybe sometimes 7. At the end of the day, we don't want to cook. We want to set up our tent, read our book, eat our food, hang our bear bag, and just relax as much as possible. And cooking adds 20 or 30 minutes to the timetable. And then finally, weight. It was something Chica got tired of carrying, and saves her a pound or so. 15 more also ask, is wondering about shelter life and how we handle marijuana usage in the shelters, and whether it creeps us out. Okay, so Chica made reference the other day to someone lighten up, and so here's my take on pot usage. I am all for legalization of pot throughout the U.S. I think it's so stupid that we lock people away for such a stupid drug. However, not everybody wants to be around people who are smoking. One of the weirdest, or one of the most innocuous sounding questions, which really isn't, is, do you mind if I smoke? You say, yeah, sure, no, don't. I have no problem with it. Well, what happens is, and it's always a pot smoker who's asking this. Someone smoking a cigarette knows that people don't want cigarette smoke around the shelter. So most smokers are taking a toke or two. They're doing it discreetly, and they're done. However, occasionally, lighting up becomes a social party, and all the other smokers kind of gather around like moths to a lighter, and all of a sudden you have all this smoke, if you're staying in the shelter, wafting into the shelter, and for a non-smoker, it's kind of annoying. And then the conversation goes a lot like two people talking about gear that you have no desire to talk about or listen to. hammockers, let's say, and you're a tenter. And they're talking about all the components of hammocking and how to set it up. Well, that's the conversation that smokers tend to have. Bongs and buds and paraphernalia and different ways to turn a bottle into a bong. And, it becomes a conversation that excludes those who don't really care about that subject. So rather than being a social activity, it becomes an exclusionary activity for those who don't want to partake. So it doesn't creep me out. I don't know if it creeps Chica out or not. And for the most part, like I said, most people are discreet, and you'll never know that they're smoking. Occasionally, twice, I have had a problem with it being excessively done and creating a party atmosphere. I would much rather be around someone who's high than someone who's drunk, though, without a doubt. Now, other drugs, I don't have tolerance for. We were at one place. There was a pavilion, and we went in, and first thing that someone said to us was, "Hey, so and so is having a bad trip. He may be aggressive." I'm thinking, man, he's not having a good Appalachian Trail hike. He's taking it out on other hikers. No, of course, he was on acid, and he was out of his mind. So that's uncool. That is not something that a hiker should deal with. And I've only seen it personally one time at the pavilion in Port Clinton. I've heard of other people. I've heard of one guy trying to hike through the Smokies at night on acid. And he basically sprained his ankle and ruined his trip. But, those are much more rare than the person, lighting up at the end of a day and having a couple of tokes. But you will come across it. And for the most part, the hostels. You'll hear the rumors of the hostels that are party hostels, and you don't stay there. You stealth camp or you tent outside of a shelter far enough away to where you're not involved, or you can walk over and be social. And if the pot comes out and that bugs you or weirds you out, you walk away. Nobody is going to force you to endure their habit. If you're staying in the shelter and they light up, ask them to stop. That's one thing out here that is kind of lacking, and I have a hard time telling people that as well. But your hike, if it is suffering because of someone's activity, let them know. And smoking, like I said, almost every smoker I've come in contact with is discreet and conscientious. Only a couple times they weren't. Okay. Scott asks, how hard is the terrain that we're in now compared to the first 400 miles of the trail? So we just finished Vermont. Before that was a couple other Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, New York. It's harder. The trail gradually gets harder. And I was having this conversation the other day with someone, and I was saying, you would think, okay, so I've lost about 55 pounds, 55 freaking pounds off my body. So you'd think losing 55 pounds, getting my pack weight down to its summer weight, which is 26 pounds total with 4 days of food and 2 liters of water, earning my trail legs, that the trail would get easier and easier and easier, and it doesn't. The trail remains a challenge every single day. The terrain changes, and each state has its own unique reason it's hard. New York and New Jersey, you had these big slabs of slanted rock that you're trying to walk on, and if it was raining, Lord help you from to keep you from falling, because you're going to fall a bunch, and you're going to slow down. Connecticut, don't really remember Connecticut, but each one has their own thing. Vermont's supposed to be the mud. We really didn't experience any more mud in Vermont than we did in Massachusetts or Virginia. Virginia was very, very wet for us. It was the fourth wettest year on record in Virginia when we went through. So it was muddy, much muddier than Vermont. But Vermont, now the elevation gain and loss is getting much steeper, so you're climbing more in a shorter amount of time and going down rapidly as well. So it's harder. And now we're in New Hampshire, and the game is about to begin. We're about to see what this trail is all about. So the first 400 miles are just a warm-up for the other states. And you're getting fitter, but you're also putting in more miles as you go along, and you're hiking faster. We're hiking faster than we've ever hiked before, even though we're going up really, really tough terrain and up steep grades. So anyway, that is our show for the week. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week. And I'm sure we'll be talking about New Hampshire and what all it has in store for us. So thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you like the content. Give us a thumbs down if for some reason you don't. And subscribe. Thanks, bye.